I'm Nicole from Before You Buy Into It, and I'm reviewing the HTC EVO 4G LTE this week. This is essentially Sprint's version of the HTC One X that Eileen reviewed about a couple of weeks ago. And the One X is for AT&T, while the EVO 4G LTE is for Sprint. As you can see here, the design is a little bit different. The screen is still a 4.7-inch Super LCD2 display, but aside from that, the design is remarkably different. As you can see, the One X has a nice white polycarbonate finish here, while the HTC EVO 4G LTE has more of an aluminum feel to it. Along the outer edges here is a sort of a brushed aluminum side here. On the back, you see a anodized aluminum lower half, as well as a red aluminum strip here. And above that, you get sort of a glossy black plastic bit right here. The reason for this red strip is that it actually pops out to act as a kickstand, like so. That way you can just prop your phone up to watch videos and so forth. Also, the upper part of the phone here, you can open it up to reveal a micro SD card slot. Now that is a huge thing. If you remember, the HTC One X does not have a micro SD card slot, whereas this does. So that's a huge benefit for EVO lovers. Now going back to the design of the phone, on top here is the usual screen lock key. On the side here is the micro USB charging port. On the side here you get the usual volume rocker keys. On the back here is the 8-megapixel camera with the LED flash. And on the front here above the display is the smaller 1.3 megapixel camera for video calls. Now let's move on to the internals of the EVO. It's very similar to the One X. You get the dual-core 1.5 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon processor. You don't get the quad-core version that the international One X does, just because it needs to make room for the LTE chip on here. However, I still found it quite fast. Just scrolling along, navigation seems pretty snappy to me. There were occasions when launching it that might take a second or two longer than I would like, but those occasions were rare. The HTC EVO 4G LTE also comes with a Beats audio technology integrated, so that promises really good bass audio, really high highs, really good melodies, and I do think it does accomplish that in terms of the music. And the good thing about that Beats audio technology is it carries on through all the music apps, not just the built-in music app, but also through RDO, Spotify, whatever music app you choose. And you activate this Beats audio integration by just plugging in any headphones you like. Now, the HTC EVO 4G LTE comes with 16 gigabytes internal memory, but like I said before, you do get the micro SD card storage that you don't get with the One X, which is a huge benefit. The EVO 4G LTE also ships with a 2,000 milliamp battery, which is amazing. Even though you can't remove the battery, which, as you might notice here, we still think it's great. Like for me anyway, the phone lasted a whole day without needing to be charged, which is good enough for me. You do need to charge it every night just to keep it going through the day, but I think that's a pretty good battery for a nice slim phone like this. A few other features here. It does have NFC support, and the 8-megapixel camera has a bunch of different features that HTC built into this phone. There's a bunch of vignettes, and you can make the different Instagram type filters like vignettes and sepia tones and all of that. It's all integrated into the camera app itself. The phone ships with Android 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich, as well as the HTC's own Sense interface, which I found quite pleasing and very easy to use. Now let's go into the pros and cons of the HTC EVO 4G LTE. The pros are that it's quite speedy. The dual-core processor seems quite fast and reasonable. The display, as you can see, is gorgeous, a 4.7-inch Super LCD2 technology, nice HD quality on here. The camera on here is fantastic, 8-megapixel quality, nice f-stop 2.0 lens on there, very nice and crisp, really good macro quality close-up shots as well. Another great pro is that it has a kickstand and a camera shutter key that the One X does not have. In fact, the shutter key is a two-stage shutter key, so you can just stop one to focus and then stop down to take the photo. Really handy. Now for the cons of the phone. The design is not for everyone. I did find it a little bit blocky compared to the 1X, depending on what you like out of the design of your phones. And I think the top part of the EVO 4G LTE here, there's sort of a cheap plasticky feel, and it does get very smudgy and very prone to fingerprints. Another huge con of this phone is that it's called the HTC EVO 4G LTE. Whether or not you will get the 4G LTE is another question, however. Sprint has yet to release its 4G LTE network nationwide yet. So all you get for now is just the regular old 3G EVDO speed, which is good, but it's not the 4G LTE as its name suggests. Sprint has promised that it will release its LTE network nationwide later on this year, but even then it's only going to be limited cities, limited markets. So it's going to be up to you whether you want to get this phone to wait for the 4G LTE in the future. Now, the HTC EVO 4G LTE is $199 retail, but you can get it for $149.99 on Amazon. Is it a buy, try, or don't buy? I kind of say it's a try. It does have a lot of great features. The display looks great. The kickstand is awesome. The camera shutter key is great. The camera quality is awesome. But if you don't get 4G LTE, it just makes me pause a little bit longer. And I think you might want to wait a little bit more to see whether you get good Sprint coverage in your neighborhood before you plug another cash for this. Try it out, see if you like it. But for me anyway, I think I would wait until you get the 4G LTE before you put down the money for this. I'm Nicole, and this has been my review of the HTC EVO 4G LTE.